Welcome, everyone, to the May episode of The Elevator, the Hall of Fame elevator, where we're here on the 32nd floor of the Hall of Fame Tower, not in Hall of Fame Tower in Seattle, because apparently the fine people here in the Emerald City said, hey, we want to give you a 40-floor tower. Yeah, I couldn't even make that work, Chris. I tried.
It's just try. That's all that matters. You
There
tried.
you go. Well, I'm Kirk Buchner with Chris Mouradian, and this is I guess our fifth, yeah, it's our fifth one doing the Hall of Fame elevator, where we look over the past month and said who made their Hall of Fame case up on the elevator and who went down. And we do this, Evan Nolan and I do this weekly, but the monthly you get a bigger perspective. So I sometimes add things that I never thought of. Sometimes I repeat things. So apologies for that. And Chris, because I'm a gentleman, I want you to open this up. Who do you have as an up or a down?
Well, I have more ups than downs this month, so I will go ahead and start with a nice up here.
Okay.
And I'm gonna go to the world of auto racing.
Okay.
And just over a week ago, we had the Indianapolis 500. Joseph Newgarden, who was an elevator up on our end of the year show last year for me, after
Mm-hmm.
having won his first Indy 500. Came back this year and won his second Indy 500, becoming the first driver to go back-to-back since Elio Castroneves in 2001 and 2002.
So that's pretty.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, so it's not something that happens too often.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and, to go back-to-back like that. So if the first win wasn't enough, along with his IndyCar championships, he just went ahead and signed another multi-year extension with Penske. So he is going to be with the top team for
Yeah.
several more years. So if he hasn't already, if in your mind, already made it to some sort of Hall of Fame based on what he's done that last Indy 500 last week, that win should seal the deal for him, in my opinion.
No, that makes a whole lot of sense. Uh, but a week and change ago, I think that's up now. As we're recording this, Chris was part of a special weekly Hall of Fame show with Evan Nolan, where you talked a lot about Hall of Fame, the United States, sorry, Athletics Hall of Fame, where you and I both announced publicly our ballots for that, and we were talking about NASCAR, and I was sort of like learning a lot because that's my weak spot, admittedly. With the overall things, and Jeff Gordon was a vote of mine, mainly because I remember him in the whole populace of the zeitgeist of pop culture. If that makes sense. And hopefully, we're going to see for the first time in 2025 the first racer advance because we haven't had one yet.
No, there's a number of very qualified candidates out there on that hung over from last ballot IndyCar side. You have AJ Foyt and Mario Andretti, and then you got Richard Petty
Mm-hmm.
from NASCAR. I also on the
Dale Earnhardt.
preliminary ballot, Dale Earnhardt Sr. Yep.
Yeah.
On the preliminary ballot, I did have Jeff Gordon as well as one of my
Mm-hmm.
votes that we announced a little over a week ago. So
Yeah.
getting some racer representation in that Hall of Fame there this time around.
Yeah, it very well could be. We'll see what happens. Uh, I'm going to start off with an elevator down. And I'm going back with the metaphoric elevator. And when Evan and I first came up with it, I envisioned this as this sexy ass building that when you get right to the top, there's Debo from Friday, just saying, okay, you get to cross the velvet
Velvet
rope.
rope. Yep.
Right, right. And as I'm sort of like looking at this, like in this great building to get there, there's somebody that's already got a velvet rope around his elevator up. There's a lot of reporters who are going to try to snip those cables. And another little fabric of that sort of happened that didn't get a lot of press. I've mentioned him before. I think you did also. I might be wrong on that. Something that didn't get a lot of mention. I'm going back to Shohei Ohtani. His best friend, allegedly. I mean, I don't know how his friendship works or whatnot, but that's what reporters said. So I'll go with it. Darren Fletcher got busted. He's currently in the minors, or maybe he's not now. I don't know. Uh, for betting on the same thing that Shohei's interpreter. I'm going to put that in air quotes here because if your best friend is somebody who probably doesn't speak Japanese, I'm assuming you don't necessarily need an interpreter. I could be wrong here, man. I don't know. But I think Shohei's got this built in buffer where he doesn't have to say shit to anybody. Me no speak a English. Bullshit. He speak a good.
If you can get away with it as a professional athlete and don't have to sit there and take as many questions from the press, I do it. I don't know. That seems like a nice way to get out of it.
He's doing it. He gets away with it. He is still kicking ass with the Dodgers this year.
Mm-hmm.
That can't be acknowledged or not discussed. But it wasn't just Fletcher who got caught. It was also Fletcher's best friend, in, who was a career minor leaguer. At some point in time, it's going to come out that Ohtani did this. And again, personally, I don't give a shit as long as he didn't bet on his own team. But there are rules. You knew what the rules were.
Yeah, I think obviously Major League Baseball wants this to go away as quickly and quietly as possible.
Yeah.
But with once you get the federal government involved and some high alphabet organizations investigating things, I don't think they're going to get to say as much as they want about how this is really no big deal, and look at this shiny object over here instead.
Right. And there's gonna be a lot of journalists who are going to do legit journalism to see if this is the case or not.
It's going
And
to be interesting all summer, and this is going to be something that's out there just waiting for like a journalist to find some kind of big piece of evidence that nobody's found yet, or somebody else gets caught with within his sphere of influence, or however you want to put it. Um, it's going to be something that's not going to go away quick, and yeah, I think you're right. I think it's only going to get bigger here.
yeah, and it's again one of those things where I mean I generally don't necessarily give that much of a shit, but there's a lot of people who do. I don't. I love Ohtani. Ohtani is the most exciting player. Well, he's in the top five and has been for a long time. But there are people who are looking to take him down. And ask Lance Armstrong. Eventually, you get caught.
Yeah.
So
The all time hit leader, is not in the Hall of Fame,
yeah,
so it they're not going to play favorites.
they are not. The one thing that Ohtani has over Pete Rose rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. Ohtani rubs nobody anyway because Shohei, what are you saying? Interpreter. Sorry, that was the worst Japanese impression ever. But
Yeah.
but like I do not believe that he does not understand everything that's going on around him. He knows, and I'm being asked to believe that this guy is the dumbest person alive.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's not.
I think we can go back to Andrew Brandt's famous quote here, that either Otani is not telling the truth, or he has the worst best friend, interpreter, accountant, manager, agent, bank in history. I don't think that all
Which
those
also means
things
he's
are
an
the
idiot.
case. Yeah, I don't think all those things are the case. So
Yeah, no. So like when this finally breaks, color me not surprised.
hmm.
Color a lot of people not surprised. But there's a lot of people who are hoping who This feels like the late night or mid 90s with the whole steroid thing. And people
Yeah,
are putting their heads in the sand. Like, nothing to see here.
hmm I I've never really understood how they could put gambling, be off of gambling so for so long, make it seem like such a terrible thing, don't want to be associated with in any way, shape, or form. And then in a matter of what about 3 to 5 years, they've just fully embraced it to the point of having ads on jerseys for
Right.
gambling sites, and
Well, but
it's bound to happen.
that's the other thing that bothers me even too. The ball players are allowed to now bet on anything other than baseball through legal means. So do that. You're allowed to do it. Do it.
Yeah.
Like you get your whole rush. Do it. There's nothing wrong with that because your union and MLB says you can. So why do you feel the need to do it through an illicit manner? What don't I understand? There must be something I don't get.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't get it. If, if you can do it legally, why wouldn't you? If that's what you really want to spend your money on.
And they're allowed to.
Yeah.
They are allowed to. And from what we've learned so far, Otani did not, or Ipe, whatever the fuck, didn't bet on baseball. Great. So do it the right way. Like, are you really getting that much of an edge? Really? And you're not somebody who's making like 80,000. You're making 80 million or whatever the hell.
Right.
Like,
800 million.
yeah, exactly. So like, what are you doing? Uh,
It's an
like
awful lot to be risking there.
yeah, when you're this level of stupid, I don't have a whole lot of like sympathy for you. I don't. But anyway,
Yeah. Wait and see. We'll see what happens there.
I'll be bringing them up again.
Very good. Um, all right. Well, I guess I'll stick with the up here this time because I got more of those this month here. I'm
Hmm.
going to stay with racing, but I'm going to switch over to horse racing.
Oh,
So
okay.
early in May, we have the Kentucky Derby and the Kentucky Oaks. Now, the Kentucky Oaks is the Friday race for the female horses, and the Derby is obviously the Saturday race for the male horses. 4 times in the history of the Derby and Oaks has the same trainer trained the winning horse in both the Derby and the Oaks in the same year, and that happened this year.
Okay.
Kenny McPeak trained Torpedo Ann, who won the Kentucky Oaks, and Mystic Dan, who won the Kentucky Derby. And it says the fourth time or fourth trainer to do it, or is it fourth time? Fourth time in history, third trainer to do it. Ben Jones did it twice, last in 1952, and that's the last time it has happened was 1952. So again, something that just does not happen very often to have the same trainer train the winning horse for both the Oaks and the Derby in the same year.
Okay.
So with that, you know, it's a little more obscure, but I enjoy watching some horse racing, so I wanted
Yeah, yeah.
to share that here tonight.
No, I never would have known that. That's actually pretty cool.
Yeah,
All right, so I'm gonna go with basketball with some elevator ups.
good.
Uh, I might do a couple in a row if that's okay.
Yeah, you bet.
Yeah, only because I'm looking at the All NBA, and this is the first year where an All NBA essentially is not position driven. So theoretically, if you're a first, second, or third team All NBA, that means you're considered the top 15 players in all of basketball. Whereas before, you could be a third team center and not necessarily be the top 15 player.
Right.
So, when we're looking at our first teams, we have Giannis, Jokic, Shea, Tatum, Luca. Uh, it's easy for me to say Shea's an elevator up because it's sort of rare, but I want to go in sort of like for three people here on the second and third team. First being Jalen Brunson. Jalen that's his first time ever as an All NBA selection. He's second team. The Knicks lost to Indiana through, I want to say, no fault of New York. You can't play when you're not expected to win when your best players aren't there.
Mhm.
Jalen Brunson, was it Shaq or Barkley? I don't remember which, but one of them sort of like had them as close to their MVP. Uh, Brunson sort of came, I don't want to say came out of nowhere, but he is now the best player on a very good team for the Knicks, and that does not hurt him at all. Uh, Anthony Edwards was also now for the first time a second team All NBA. Minnesota did not advance, but a lot of the shit towards Minnesota was Karl Anthony Towns, who was up and down through the whole playoffs. Anthony Edwards is giving me Ja Morant vibes from like a year and a half ago, where a lot of people are saying he's going to be the face of the league. Don't know whether that's going to be the case or not, but here we are. But in the third team, there are two people who are now multiple time for that. Tyrese Halliburton of Indiana, but a player I really, really, really like, Domantas Sabonis, who is now a second time third team All NBA with the Kings. I think going forward, for me personally, if I had a vote, and we don't know how the hell they vote because they won't tell us. But if you can't become a top 15 player here, forget it. I cannot possibly endorse you. I can't.
No, those are all some really great choices. I know you said you left Shea off there. He was somebody I was looking at as potential for myself here. Just really kind of, he's arrived, whereas like Jalen Brunson and
I thought Shea
Edwards.
was too obvious, so that's why I didn't go there.
Yeah. Edwards, they're on their way. They've made their mark. They're ready to take that next step next season. It's going to be exciting to see how they capitalize off their success this year.
Right.
Brunson being in New York, there, that spotlight's just gonna always be extra bright on him and on that team there. Right. So whatever he does, good or bad, is gonna get highlighted a little bit more than maybe Edwards up in Minnesota. But
and I think what obviously, as we're doing this for the month of May, when we do this for the end of the month of June, I imagine you and I will sort of like be focusing on the NBA and NHL finals, which will have some pretty obvious ups, I would think, moving forward. But yeah, I already got a big one already for one team I think who's going to lose in the NBA finals, but still, we'll move on from there.
Yeah, excellent choices. I really like those. The Sabonis one, that's good. I didn't really see that one coming, so good on you to find that.
He's just that fundamentally great player. I don't know that he's not meant to be necessarily a number one guy. He just needs the right thing around him. But he gives me Manu Ginobili vibes.
Okay.
And he's in the Basketball Hall of Fame.
He was a first ballot guy too, so it's a good guy to be kind of tying him up with.
Yeah, but it's not like Sabonis ever didn't get to play with some of the great players that he did.
No, exactly. So actually, I had a basketball that up for this month that wasn't on your list here, so I'll roll with that one here.
Okay.
That is Mr. Kyrie Irving down there in Dallas.
That's gonna be my guy for next month. But yeah, go ahead.
Oh, okay.
No. Yeah, do this. Yeah, go.
Yeah. So no, he's had just himself a real nice bounce back season here. He kind of had a little rough go a bit back a couple years ago with his time in Brooklyn.
Yep.
Didn't really go very well.
Did not.
So now he's down in Dallas. He's kind of taken on a bit of a leadership role there with the team, being a veteran, being a guy that's been through finals before. So he has a chance for his second career ring here this season, going up against a very tough Boston team.
Yeah.
But the way they're playing right now, I would not rule anything out. And for a guy that has, taken a lot of shit for his stances and beliefs, to more or less persevere through all that and to come out of the other side and put together the season he did and elevate his game the way he has, he really put himself back into that conversation for the Hall of Fame in the future.
Okay. Since we're here, because I was gonna like talk about him next month.
Okay. But we don't go back and forth before we start these shows. So
no, we don't tell each other anything. We just say like how many ups or downs. And
right.
That's all we do. Kyrie is an interesting person to me. God, I don't want to go political here. Fuck. But I'm going to a little bit. I told Evan Nolan on the Hall of Fame show, Kyrie sort of reminds me as an MCU villain in a way. And where I sort of like went with that, a great villain in anything really is somebody who believes what they're doing is correct. So when we look at some of the things that he sort of did that makes him unlikable, first thing says, I don't want to hang out. I don't want to play with LeBron. I want to be the leader of a team.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of respectable until he realizes maybe he doesn't really mean it and goes elsewhere, aka Boston, right?
Yeah.
So like him going to Boston, he's gonna get booed the shit out of, and he won't give a shit. He'll be fine with that. He does everything that he's doing, and then he goes to Brooklyn. I don't want to go in the whole Fauci shit and whatnot in terms of the jab and all this other stuff. I will say this, and I said it then, and I didn't agree with him then. I might have a different opinion now, but I respected Kyrie for saying, I'm going to do what I want to do. He didn't get that. I was in Barbados. I kind of had to come back to Canada, which at the time I thought was right. Well, whatever. I don't want to go here, there, whatever. But I'll say this. Here we are in 2024, recording this in early June, Chris and I. If you were somebody who had a problem with people who didn't get the job, and I did, I got it. Well, I'll say that. Wherever you go right now, you're not even giving a shit whether the people around you or the people who made your food did. And at that point in time, when Kyrie made the decision that he did, which did hurt his team, you're thinking, well, okay, this is going to hurt him forever. We're not talking about this at all. We're not. And whether you're against what he did or not, just call it what it is. We're not talking about it. We're not even talking about the fact that he even was maybe anti-Jewish. Not was. He shared something that was goddamn anti-Semitic.
Yeah, it's a whole nother topic that we probably should steer clear of
Sure, but
for
we
here.
don't know who the voters are. So
Right.
you have to think that Kyrie has to put himself so far ahead of whatever that fence is in their mind that they can't possibly say he doesn't belong. And Kyrie's that guy. He has to put himself, he's got to like win a second championship, whether he's the number two on both teams or not. He's a strong number two. I think, was he an 8-time All-Star now?
I'd have to
Yeah,
dig it up. I can.
Kyrie's got to do all those sort of things. Is Kyrie somebody whose beliefs I agree with? No. Is he somebody who I think is a Hall of Famer? I thought this already, but I don't know who he's got to convince. I got no idea.
Yeah, you're right. 8-time All-Star now.
I'm right. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like Kyrie's got to do a whole lot more than a lot of other people. Not that he gives a shit. I honestly believe he doesn't care.
No. He's a very obviously proven that he's a very independent person with how he thinks and how he decides things.
Sure.
He does what Kyrie wants,
Mhm.
and more power to him to be able to do that and to be able to not succumb to the pressures
Well,
to be able to stay independent.
let me throw something else at you here. So
Yeah.
when the Nets put together their super team, so you had Kyrie, Durant, and Harden.
James Harden. Yeah.
Yeah, wherever Harden goes, he doesn't make anybody better.
No.
Wherever Durant goes, he definitely doesn't make anybody better, even
Nope.
though he is one of the best players of all time.
Yep.
Kyrie, you could argue, kind of does in his own little weird way. Kyrie and Luca should not be okay. Did we have Dallas in the finals? I sure as hell didn't.
No. No. What were they? Fourth seed, I think, this year.
Fifth.
Fifth. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, they were. I would say an afterthought, but they were not somebody that anybody was really expecting to run it out of the West there.
Yeah. So here he is. He has played. He's played and very very well in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
His teammates like him. They may not necessarily agree with a goddamn thing he says. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Uh, Emerson Bucker, you know,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
yeah, I'm sure a lot like if I was a teammate of Butker, it's like, well, he makes all his field goals. I don't give a shit. That's what we have here with Kyrie. And like this is something that if they go on to win the whole thing, don't know if they will or not. Tell me again why Kyrie doesn't belong in the NBA or Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame. You can't. You
No,
can't.
I think
Do I want
that's
to have
second.
dinner with him? No. Do I want to have him at a party of mine? No. Do I want him in the Hall of Fame? Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, they win this year. He's got the 2 championships. He's got the 8 All-Stars, multiple All-NBA teams. He's checked enough boxes, but we know that the Hall of Fame voters tend to have some kind of
Well, we don't even know that.
well, if you look at Kevin Johnson,
Basketball, we don't know shit.
I'm kind of looking at Kevin Johnson and his candidacy there. He's somebody that seems to be more than qualified for consideration, yet he doesn't really get any kind of traction, any kind of consideration.
Okay.
And he's got some he had some off court stuff that kind of stuck with him a little bit after his career. And the only thing you can kind of look at, in my opinion, they still have that in their minds when they're discussing the ballots behind their closed doors and in their secret room in
If
a bunker
there's
somewhere.
closed doors and if there's a secret room, we don't even know that.
That's true.
Yeah. So, all right. So let's go back to that, right? So, like, I'm thinking of two people two people who had to wait longer than they should have. First is Chris Webber.
Mhm.
Were they thinking that his college accomplishments didn't count because of that bullshit that he accepted money because they all didn't, right?
Right.
So he eventually got in. He should have got in years before he did. And then you look at another one, Tim Hardaway,
Mhm.
because Tim Hardaway said something massively homophobic, massively offensive, probably something that a lot of other players thought he had. I put in air quotes the balls to say, but it cost him. He
Mhm.
had to wait years for that. But again, like we don't even know if it's one person deciding this.
Right. Yeah.
I have
That's
no idea,
yeah. The Basketball Hall of Fame selection process is, one of the great mysteries in life here.
and we'll never know.
No.
We'll never know, except for that fine, fantastic ESPN article that said, "Hey, don't worry about it. They all know what they're doing." Anywho, sorry.
Yeah, it's all right. It's all good. All good.
Oh,
Where are we at?
I get. Is this mine or?
I think we're up to you here. Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna go with hockey. I got an elevator down, not necessarily for the Hockey Hall of Fame, but just for their respective franchise Hall of Fame, and that's Valerie Nichushkin.
Mhm.
Uh, I didn't even realize this and I should have, but I didn't. But this year, Nichushkin, he got kicked off, or he got suspended for 6 months for a level three. I don't even know what this means. Level three substance abuse, whatever the hell. I've never
Yeah.
heard of that.
Some kind of controlled substance violation, and obviously level 3 means it's not his first time through the
Right.
process here.
And the year before, he had a little personal issue again during the playoffs where there was a sort of like a woman sort of like found colossally drunk and in bad shape. Uh, Whatever happened here, the last 2 years, Nichushkin was close to a point per game player. And more importantly for Avs fans, he was the leading scorer going into the playoffs this year. Some people on X/Twitter said, whether accurately or not, I don't know, that okay, that's the second year in a row he cost us the Stanley Cup. Whether he did or not, I don't know, but he cost you a shot at it twice. He's near 30. He's obviously got some issues. They're not going away. And for the NHL or the hockey, even just say, hey, here's a player with issues. The NHL doesn't do that. The NHL wants to hide anything, any way they can. So Nichushkin at this point, he is again. I don't think he was ever going to be a hockey Hall of Famer, maybe close. But if the odds are going to nominate or going to we're thinking about it, done. Forget it. Over.
Yeah, I don't know if they have their own team Hall of Fame or Ring of Honor or
Yeah.
something like that. Um, it's really unfortunate because he's obviously an incredibly talented player that
Good.
makes his team so much better. Um, on the human side of it, you just hope that he finally gets the help he needs. Whatever they've tried in the past obviously hasn't worked as he's back in the program again here. But um, at the end of the day, hockey aside, human being, he needs help, and hopefully this is the wake up call that he needs, and they find the right program for him to get his life back together.
Yeah, but there's sort of like one thing though too. Like you do this within 48 hours after having another phenomenal game.
Mhm.
At what point are you a selfish asshole? I don't know.
you know, I don't know either. It's when you're dealing with substance abuse,
Right.
it just can become such a problem in your life that it's you spiral out of control, that you can be on, like you said, on top of the world there with, and then 48 hours later you're out of the league because you couldn't walk away from what was going on in front of you there. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's obviously for the Avalanche, it it sucked for their team this year. You know, let them down, whatever, however you want to look at it, call it. They had another great team ready to make a run deep in the playoffs, and said they got bounced early with whether or not you know you can say he had anything to do with, not necessarily on the ice, but even just the whole around the team with that
Mm.
swirling around. Just it has to get through the locker room. It's got to be on people's minds, even maybe once they get on the ice, they can kind of forget about it. But that's where you misses. You're not thinking about it, but that's where you need him to be out there with you, digging pucks out of the corner, crashing the net, or sniping one
Well,
from
it,
the
it
slot.
changes all the lines.
It changed all the lines. Your your player you're expecting to be there to be your secondary scoring or
Mm.
power play specialist or whatever is not there. Now it's somebody else is trying to step into that role. Yeah, I mean, it's on the ice, it's off the ice, it's a mess. And yeah, I said, at the end of the day, you try to look at the human side of it and hope that he gets the help he needs.
Yeah. Yeah. So I only have one more overall. So if you
Yeah.
got,
Yeah. So I got two more ups I'd like to do tonight.
yeah.
So I'll go that route here. I'm gonna go to baseball for this next one here. And something that I came across on the X feed. I think our buddy Dave Whitlock shared it, and that's how I found it.
Okay.
And that is Luis Arez from San Diego, and how his career so far compares extremely favorably to one of the greatest hitters of our lifetimes, and that's Mr. Tony Gwynn.
Okay.
So
I wish I would have saw that. Tony Gwynn's my favorite baseball player of all time.
excellent,
Okay.
great choice there.
Yeah.
So through 2,144 career at bats. Not sure how they got that number, but that's the number we settle at. Luis Arez is hitting 325. Tony Gwynn was hitting 326. Luis Arez has 696 hits. Tony Gwynn had 699 hits. Luis Arez has a OPS of 802. Tony Gwynn had an OPS of 804. Now, this is not to say that Luis Arez is the next Tony Gwynn, but it is to say that he's off to a damn good start. And for somebody that has these kinds of numbers and really flies so far under the radar as he does, that he's already been traded twice in 6 seasons.
I was just gonna say, yeah. Yeah.
Um, he's currently leading all the majors in batting again this year, hitting over I believe 340 at the time we're talking here. Was the league leader last year. The only thing I can think of is he doesn't have the power numbers, which really is what today's game seems to be all about, is whether you're a power pitcher, you're a power hitter, you're a guy that you know maybe would have been a 280 hitter with a bunch of doubles. Now you're a 230 hitter with 25 home runs instead. It's the game has gotten away from the players that just go up there
Yeah.
and put the ball in play and see good things happen. And I really like Arez as a player. I think he plays the game the right way. Got him on my fantasy team this year again. Um, always gonna help me out with the hits and the runs. But yeah, he's just a really good player that nobody
Yeah,
really
no, I
talks
love
about.
him. No,
And
no, that's fantastic.
this comparison was just uncanny, to see it there. And like I said, I'm not sure how they ended up with the at bats that they did. if they had to finagle that to get it where they was, or if that just was where Arez was at the time there as his career is progressing. But yeah, I saw that and just like, yeah, really, why doesn't Arez get more attention? So if anybody's watching up the show, our show here, and wants to start spreading the word, there you go. Now you have some information.
But I think you answered it right. He just keeps getting traded, and like to
Yeah.
a batting title in Miami doesn't help you a whole hell of a lot.
No, started out in Minnesota, which
Yeah.
again, you're not playing a big market. You go to Miami, which is a big market, but an invisible team.
It's not a big market. I mean, like they keep, like
Well, the city of Miami is a big city, but the team itself is invisible down there.
right. So yeah, but yeah,
And now,
true.
yeah, now he's out in San Diego. So I don't know. Just
No,
keep hitting the ball, keep putting it in play.
I think that was actually like in my. I can't say that I understand how the Twitter/X shit works when it comes for that. It must be because I only do a bunch of sports, so there was a whole bunch of things on my feed that said like Araya's Hall of Famer. So maybe for you too. I don't know,
Yeah, there
but
you go.
I didn't see what Dave posted.
Yeah.
But yeah, good shout out to Dave. Uh, my last one's baseball, so I don't know if you want to do
Okay.
baseball because you had two.
Yeah, no, it's not baseball. It's
Oh,
hockey. It's gonna be again a little different. It's not
all right,
actually one.
your hockey. I'll close baseball then.
Let's stick with baseball here. Let's let you
Okay.
finish up.
All right. So mine's elevator down.
Okay.
And it's somebody I don't think was really that big for the Baseball Hall of Fame, but it's Jose Abreu, who is 37, who is must be blunt, sticking it up with the Houston Astros. To our friend Dave, actually, this sort of like works out there perfectly.
There you go.
But a Cuban player whose age is caught up with him. He is arguably from the second worst player in baseball right now. As I look this up, minus 1.5 B WAR. Somebody who was so good at one point, but it's just not going to happen.
No, he like you mentioned, he's Cuban, so his major league career started at a little later. So he didn't really have a
And
lot
his
of
age may not even be right. Let's be blunt too.
that could be true. But for what we believe we know, he started, I think, in his late 20s with
Yeah. So
in the majors.
he's 37.
Right. He is
So
a former MVP.
yeah.
So, it's something there. But to his credit, he accepted the demotion to the minors, went down there, worked on his game. I believe called up within the last week to 10 days. They brought him back up, and but yeah, signed a pretty big contract with Houston. That's going to be some sunk money there.
Yeah. Which is a yoke on them. That's the only thing Chicago did right in the last 24 months.
Yeah, I feel bad for those White Sox
I
fans
got
down there
nothing
this
to
year.
say. I like he loved watching him play, but he's not that guy now. He's just not.
No, he definitely looks like somebody where time just ran up and grabbed him right away. It wasn't a slow decline there.
Mm-hmm.
So
All right,
no, it's good.
You have to close.
I will close it out here. So hockey, you're familiar with the triple gold, aren't you? As a hockey fan,
Oh yeah.
with the World Championship
Yeah,
gold,
world,
the
world,
Olympic gold,
Olympic and Stanley Cup. Yeah, okay.
Stanley Cup. Yep. So there's currently 30 members in the triple gold club, and 30 players and one coach. Can't forget about Mike Babcock there.
I didn't even know
So
that there was one coach.
yeah,
No,
Mike
I didn't
Babcock.
know that until you just said that.
Yeah, there you go. Now you learned something tonight.
Yeah.
So last week, we had the presentation of the first Walter Cup in the Professional Women's Hockey League, which
Oh,
is
oh,
their equivalent of, say, a Stanley Cup.
yeah. Minneapolis
Minute,
or Minnesota. Is it Minneapolis or Minnesota?
I believe they go by Minnesota.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so Minnesota won the very first Walter Cup,
Mhm.
and now with that, we have our first 5 ladies version of the triple gold. So
Ooh,
we have Kelly Panic, Lee Steckline, Maddie Rooney, Nicole Hensley, and the captain from the Minnesota team, Kendall Coyne Schofield. So,
well done, buddy. Okay, are
yeah,
are they American, Canadian? Like, what are their nationalities?
they are a mix of American and Canadian.
I
I don't
figured.
have, yeah, I don't have each one written down, but a lot of Americans with the gold in 2018 in Tokyo. East Japan.
I don't know.
Yeah,
No. Tokyo was summer, so it couldn't have been
summer.
summer.
Okay,
Yeah.
it was Korea. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, so that's
That's a good one.
yeah.
Why
So
the
I
hell
don't.
didn't I come up with that? And for those sort of like they did a decent job. The women's pro league. I think the timing wasn't all that good. Just because like when you're watching, like I watched a bit of that, it just didn't sort of like time right. But
Mhm.
I think maybe if they went earlier and sort of like ended their finals when the NHL began,
More
and
like a
something
summer
like that.
league.
Yeah, I don't know. No, well, not summer league. No, I don't think a summer league, but just sort of like it because their league is a smaller amount of games.
Oh,
It's
and when the NHL playoffs start.
right. So
Yeah, okay.
yeah, because it's only like a 6 game league, and
6-team league, yeah, and I think they don't play obviously as many games
yeah,
there.
yeah. Because like if you're watching like it's way better than women's pro hockey that I've seen before.
Hmm.
Like when they had that like 10, 15 years ago, and I would see that in Brampton, Ontario. So like they've
Sure.
come a long way. Uh, so yeah, I mean, like, no, that's a great one. Why the hell didn't I think of that? But I think also too, if they sort of like time it with that,
Hmm.
maybe they can sort of like build something.
Yeah, and I think anything, it's obviously it's new as the first year. They did a nice job where they limited it to 6 teams in um, very hockey orientated cities, or locations with Minnesota and
Right.
Ottawa and Boston. So, and then the level of hockey is only going to continue to increase here the more girls start playing it at a younger age, and the
Yeah. I mean, my thing though too, Chris, though, like give them team names. You
yeah,
can't
yeah.
market this Team Ottawa.
Hmm.
You can't sell that. You can't put that in a hat.
Yeah. No, they do need the nicknames. They got it. That should be their goal for next year is like Utah's doing out there in for their NHL team. Put it out to the fans. Let's start coming up with some nicknames here for these teams as opposed to the Minnesota Professional Women's Hockey League team.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly right. Because like their merch was zero, I'm sure,
Yeah,
and it didn't
with
happen.
some generic hats or T-shirts with just say Minnesota on it, or Boston, or Ottawa, or
Right.
Detroit, or whatever. Yeah,
Because I'm sure there's a lot of little girls watching hockey saying like, "Oh, come on," you know. All right, I like this.
yeah.
Yes, that sort of like brings us to a close. So wherever you are, wherever you may be. Oh, look who's here. Winnie's here. Winnie the Mini Dachshund. Wherever you are, wherever you may be, let's make this a great day because it never comes again. Take care, everyone.
Good night.